Hi, guys. Intrepid viewers, how are you? Are you doing okay? Look after yourselves. So, we got to witness the Yetis rally in Waco, and the numbers appear to be, depending who you talk to, between 10 and 15,000, which was sort of what was expected. And given that it was an opportunity for all the Neanderthals and their little Neanderthal families to have a big picnic, I don't think those numbers are too much of a risk. Do you? The other thing that was interesting was there was a big drift out after 30 minutes. They'd waited on the tarmac for years to see the Yeti descend from heaven. Don't you love the imagery? You know? And he'll fly off, and Waco won't be paid, and, it's business as usual in Trump land. So I think they're sort of welded on out of habit now. He's not a riveting speaker. He's got nothing new to say. So very interesting that it started to empty after 30 minutes. I think that's a good thing. Okay, now, I've got a mixed bag today. There's a very important election coming up for the mayor of Chicago. Okay, and it's between two guys. One who has devoted his life to destroying public schools and privatising education, and one who is an ex-public school teacher who presumably wants to support education. This is such a watershed sort of crystallisation of what's going on across the country. So the nasty guy is Paul Vallas, and the one we hope is a good guy is Brandon Johnson. So let's have a look. I'll do Brandon Johnson first. It's strange that the mayors have such enormous power in the states. Like our states in Australia have a premier, which is like your governor, and they do have quite a lot of power. You sort of get that. But mayors, really? Aren't they meant to snip ribbons and kiss babies? Isn't that their job, really? Anyway, apparently not. One can dismantle the education system before lunch. Awesome. In the good news, we've had a good election result in Australia. Sydney is in the state of New South Wales. It was being led by an Opus Dei type whose wife's pregnant with the 8th child. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, he lost. And there's a new guy in who I must say is so boring, I can barely remember his name. You could use him as blotting paper. But anyway, he limped over the line. In fact, it was more than a limp. He got in. So all states in Australia but one are now Labor, meaning Dem, which is after years of Conservatives. So it's a good momentum. Okay, back to Chicago. I'm going to do Brandon Johnson first. Brandon, come on. What's going on for you, hun? Oh, I like that. This card could go either way, but we'll see. Look, first up, his overarching card, the vibe of the spread is truth, justice, and the American way, to quote Superman. Wasn't that the saying? I can't remember now. It's been many decades, but I like that at the beginning. He can put his case quite well. What he's up against, of course, is a lot of I'm doing this. I haven't had my second coffee yet. Ten of Swords. Note the Phoenix rising. This is people trying to sabotage him at every point. This will be pumping of GOP money and viciousness to undermine his campaign. But he comes out of that almost smelling of roses. Now, the card I'm a bit curious about. This is the legacy card. So his legacy depends on this. Chicago's legacy, given that mayors do have such power, depends on this. Now, let's talk for a second. Pentacles, money, yes, but also values. So it's the thing. The hard right and the Christian right think they own values, and that if you're not an ardent fundamentalist, you have no values. What about the values of valuing people and valuing children and respecting each other and so forth? Those are values. Just saying. So his cards are not bad. Now we have to look at the rival, Paul Vallas, and given Chicago's huge profile psychologically, I'm sure he won't be short of money to spread the toxic message. Paul Vallas, Chicago mayor. How's he going to go? Paul Vallas. Oops. Oh, will he privatize? What will he do? Will he win this race? Paul Vallas. Let's check him out. All that shuffling and buffling, he gets the same. So this is a battle of the values. Very interesting. All right, Queen of Cups. Excuse me. Now, like I just described, so he has his poisonous seeds to spread with this card. He's going to be on the airwaves day and night, expressing his point of view. The World and the Queen of Cups. So given the US doesn't have a big track record at looking at the rest of the world for possible ideas on how to have an education system or something, I think this is the world, meaning the rest of America. But it can also be the end of a big cycle. And I don't think women are on board for this. This is the Queen of Cups, lid on the cup. I think the women's vote will not go to him. Please. Hope I'm right. Okay. Now let's just leap across the world for a minute to Ukraine. Now, it's really distressing, the images that are coming out of Ukraine. And Putin sent in the Wagner group, who did dreadful things in Syria. They're the worst of the worst. But at the moment, they're not happy. Now, normally they're mercenaries. They're out and out mercenaries. I don't mean that as a turn of phrase. I mean, they get paid to torture and kill people. That's their job. Nice guys. Awesome. Now, the Wagner Group is used to being paid big money by corrupt governments to do their dirty work. That's what they do. A bit like Eric Prince. I wonder what's happened to him. But they're not winning across the board, and they have complained to Russia that they've got ammunition hunger. Who invents these phrases? So they're not getting the logistical financial support they're used to. So let's just have a look more generally at, let's look at, instead of that per se, let's look at how the Ukrainian people are holding up. They're a year and a bit into a nightmare. And let's have a look. How are Ukrainians holding up? Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. Now, Oh my God. You got to hand it to these people. I mean, I don't know about you, but it makes me the strength of the Ukrainian people who were living modern everyday lives till a year ago or so to have to be in this situation. This is the deprivation and suffering. It's, everything is upside down. They've had to deal with energy shortages as well as the sheer terror or being in exile out in the cold in other countries waiting for this to resolve. And yet they feel this is their calling. They've been called to support their country in any way they can in the pursuit of what is right and just. And they strongly feel they will prevail with this star card. Oh, bless you. I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, just feels so soft by comparison. Ah, Slava Ukraine. Oh my goodness. But they have got the world by and large on their side. Not everybody, of course, or there wouldn't be an enemy, but they have. Okay. Now, I just read this maybe half an hour ago every day I consume news from all over the world. Right? That's what I do for a living. And I like to see what different countries are saying about their own things, but saying about the same things and so forth. So I read a lot of news. And that's my tip to everyone who are getting stressed with listening and watching the news. Start reading it. There's really good outlets there. But this is a warning. It's a drug. You know how these drugs have unpronounceable names. This one is aripiprazole or something like that. Aripiprazole. It's prescribed heavily. This article was from the UK, from a scientific journal. And then I looked up whether it's used in the States, and it is extensively. And it's used for depression, bipolar disorder, psychosis, and schizophrenia. Right. The problem is the UK studies are showing that it impairs impulse control, and people who haven't had a gambling problem before take this drug and then manifest quite severe gambling issues, including, relationships breaking up, losing their house, really severe stuff. And it wasn't detected originally by medical teams. It was observed with organizations who help gamblers. And they did the stats and worked out 9%, nearly 1 in 10 of the people they were helping with their gambling problems were on this drug. And now the medical association is going, oh my God. So that's just a general warning to you guys. If you're on it or someone you know is on it, they may well need to either change medication, but I'm not a medical doctor, or be hyper alert to this tendency. Okay, now I want to have a look at the economy, stock market, labor shortages. Now, why is this the case? Well, okay, these figures are quite huge. The US has a chronic labor shortage. In construction, they're short 413,000 workers. Manufacturing jobs, 764,000 workers. And then in all industries, everything from electricians to finance. Now, we know COVID upset the entire world. It was a global pandemic and everyone's lives was turned upside down. But these are big numbers, particularly if the mythical infrastructure bill finally gets enacted. Those numbers are going to go up. because if there's a shortage now, imagine when it starts getting rolled out. So what is the problem? What is the problem? Let's have a look at this. Yeah, look, there's systemic issues here because we've got the Hierophant, justice, etc., etc. So this problem is going to get worse with the Empress here because she magnifies things, right? The problem is, you know that old saying, act in haste, repent at leisure. By shutting off all kinds of immigration, I think this is partly because the right is hysterical on immigration generally, but also with COVID, people stop. This rapid fire legislation hasn't been wound back in time with justice, and America needs more immigrants. So when people tell you there isn't enough money for your retirement, that's because every country needs to keep immigrants coming in, because we're not having the mountains of kids that used to happen in the post-war thing. You need healthy younger workers to come in. I was saying this on Andre's channel the other day. So these two issues come together. America needs more immigrants. How ironic is that? The King of Swords is here. I think this is big business, and the King of Swords, never one of my favorite cards. But this is continuing to keep wages low, which is a systemic problem. So you're not attracting American workers to these jobs, particularly dirty, dangerous jobs, but not only those, highly skilled jobs as well. So it's both ends of the labour market are not getting addressed here. I'll leave you with that thought. Then I want to have a more generic look now. First of all, at the stock market and then the economy. I would painstakingly point out they are not the same thing. The stock market is a dedicated casino that sits over here, and the economy is what is generated from within and borrowed and lent and built upon and expanded and contracted, and all the money circulating in what is called the fiscal space. That is the economy as opposed to the stock market. Okay, so let's do the stock market first. Let's not. What's going on with? We may as well go global. I'm getting a global thing on this. The global stock market. America is a huge player. The global stock market. Let's say, where are we? End of March. In the next 3 months, the stock market globally. Stock market globally. All righty. Well, not surprisingly at all, I think the head honchos in finance land are actually engaged in finding new strategies and tactics to try and secure the stock market. This could be, the Five of Swords could be, it's often the card of theft, but I think in this case it's more what they're afraid of is the flight risk of people pulling their money out of the stock market. You then have the King of Pentacles. These are the uber wealthy and powerful. And this is your mere mortals who maybe have your 401k attached to certain stocks, etc., etc. See the difference? One is a much bigger player than this one who's hoping for just a comfortable retirement. So the decisions are made, of course, by this one. And when things are good, it can benefit mere mortals. But when things are bad, they will survive when this guy will go down the toilet. So at the moment, it's still all right. I think there will be dips because this card is indicating to me there'll be a big pullout of the stock market. There will be dips, and they're magnified by this. So expect that. It will be volatile. Things won't be altogether rosy. But at the end, here is the Queen of Wands who provides a certain stability to it all, a bit of sanity to it all. Okay. So expect dipping and diving. But once again, if it gets too bad, mere taxpayers everywhere will be expected to stabilise any losses incurred by the rogue financiers. Welcome to peak capitalism. Now I want to have a look at the economy, which is where most of us live, in the society that has an economic pattern to it going around. Well, you know, that's wages, that's outlays, that's mortgages, that's paying rent. That's what we buy and what we sell. That is the economy. How's the economy going? This time I'll just look at the US economy. All right. I wouldn't worry too much about this. I think the stock market is infinitely more volatile, but surprisingly, and thank God for Biden, the economy is not too bad. It's having a bit of a lie down at the moment. It's having a bit of a flat line, but it will pick up again, probably when the infrastructure bill kicks in. Women who are often the money managers in domestic situations here, again, the lid's on the cup. This suggests to me a bit of moderation. While I'm here. And this is a nice card to end on, people working together. So I think despite interest rate hikes and other major issues that impact really negatively on individual people's lives, this is talking about the bigger economy, which will be all right. So if we put all those stories together, if you've got a young person in your family who's looking, what am I going to do when I grow up? Tell them to be an electrician or some sort of tradie, because really they're the ones in demand, you know, into the future. So guys, I've got to go because in a mere few minutes, I'm on with Johnny and Jen Lynn and Becca. And I think today's show is on Johnny's channel. So I'll see you over there shortly. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.